This is part 3 of my Crash 4 Purple Relic video. If you haven't seen the previous parts, I suggest you watch those first. Insanity Peak. The second level of the game. Funny going back to it, as when I went to record some footage for this video, I managed to beat my new record in my first attempt. Twice!
Huh?
This alone made me realize how easy this level is to get the Purple Relic, as the times given are pretty generous. Hell, I even encourage you to try this level out when getting started with Purple Relics. But why could that be? Besides being the second level of the game, I think it stems from how much you can slice spin this level, as certain areas can be very open in its level design, allowing you to chain those moves in long periods of time, especially during the chase sequence. Maybe this is a better map to practice slice spinning instead of dragging on? The only issue I can say is the occasional bad rope cycles that can interrupt your flow. But I mean, if it's easy to get the Purple Relic, it doesn't really matter all that much, does it?
Why bother?
Maybe this is why I'm ranking it this low, as it's a great level with virtually no flaws,
Perfection.
but I feel as though other levels provide something much more than this. But I think it's still great nonetheless. Crash Compactor. So I have similar thoughts, just like Insanity Peak, to where I find it's a great Crash level, but I feel as though other levels provide something much more than this. But what makes this one better than the previous entry is that there's a lot more going on with this level design, and it's not as easy. For one thing, I find the beginning to be particularly interesting, as the flamethrower that is a few feet away from spawn has this cycle, which essentially tests if you can pass through it on your first try. Too slow, and you'll be burned to a crisp. For some odd, maniacal reasons, I like that. But other parts of Crash Compactor are great as well, with the usual perk of being able to use Crash's moveset to speed your way through the level, along with having some occasional neat skips here and there. I especially like towards the end, where there's a 2D section that utilizes Lanny to make some swift movement, provided you know how to navigate properly. Some of the minor gripes I have includes having a grind rail section, which I oh so enjoy. Thankfully it's pretty short. These gears having weird collision, making them easy to fall into. I mean, it is technically accurate to its design, but come on, really. Lastly, these buzzsaw ramblers, as they call, are pretty annoying to deal with, as their buzzsaws attack can insta-kill you if you hit them at the wrong spot at the wrong time. Like, come on man, that's not fair, damn it.
Fatality.
Otherwise, Crash Compactor is still a blast to play, even if there's nothing too spectacular about it. It's similar to how I felt with okay timeline levels like Truck Stop or that one that shall not be named. But the difference between those levels and Crash Compactor is that you at least have Crash's advanced movement right off the bat, making the levels much more exciting by default. Shit happened. Whoops. Damn, sorry. They just stop with these innuendos. I swear to God, the ship happens. Speaking of timeline levels, here is the last and greatest one in the entire game. And it's somehow a Cortex level? You know, the worst one of all the side characters? But how could that come to be? That can't be possible. Well, my dear friend, the reason why it's this high in the ranking is because of Cortex section, which is just perfect. I'm dead serious. The issues I have with previous Cortex level are either due to its janky controls or bad level design, but for Ship Happens, these problems simply don't exist. I rarely felt any awkwardness controlling Cortex, and at the same time, the level design complements his gameplay really well. Both qualities combined makes his section very thrilling and consistent to go through. So much so that it almost feels like muscle memory. While there might not be major highlights that stands out for this section, it's at least consistently enjoyable to speed through. I honestly have no complaint to say at all. In terms of Crash's section, well, it's just as great too, just like the original. Although, you are missing out on the ice physics at the beginning, which are just phenomenal. We'll get to that eventually. But, I don't know. Something about his section just doesn't vibe with me at all. Nothing changed with the level design, like I said, but it just doesn't feel as fun to go through. And it might be because of how time trial ghost works in this game. So, I don't know if my copy is busted or something, but in timeline levels, even when ghosts are disabled in the options, they still show up in my runs.
Sup, bitches?
Whenever I'm in Crash's portion. And in all honesty, I prefer if they don't appear in the first place, simply because they always mess up with my concentration whenever they're near me.
What the fuck?
It causes me to make more mistakes than I would like to admit. Ah, stupid ghost, I hate you! And I prefer to instead judge for myself for when I make any improvements or not. I'm weird, I know. I should have mentioned that weird quirk in previous entries, but I think this one really stands out for not being as fun, which is why I'm talking about it now. But looking back as shit happens, not only do I consider it to be the best Cortex level, but the best timeline level, period. Its level design complements the side character's movement really well, which alleviates any issues I generally have with them, which in this case is Cortex janky controls. With those issues gone, this level showcases Cortex's truest potential, which involves his boost ability and ray gun usage. Truly a peak timeline level. Rude Awakening. Ah, the level which started it all. For being the first one in the game, it's incredible how fun it is to do time trials. But one of the things I find great is how much it trains you to use Crash 4's advanced movement right off the bat, having enough ground for you to learn how to triple spin, or eventually slide spin. A bit of a backstory. When I first unlocked the triple spin after beating the game, I immediately realized how painful it is to constantly mash the X button during time trials. My thumbs were already becoming really sore because of this, so playing ahead of time, I decided to rebind my X button to be the right trigger instead. Yeah, right trigger to spin. Weird, isn't it? But actually, rebinding it makes triple spins much less painful, and I actually come to prefer this control scheme. This also affects side characters too, like Cortex Ray Gun, Hana's Grapple, and Dingle Dog Vacuum. So if you're wondering why I rarely get tired of triple spinning during gameplay, this is why. But getting back to Rude Awakening, actually I lied, sidetracking again. I really love the attention to detail added to the beginning, like the TV being just close enough for you to change channels on every run, the fridge would have these magnets spelling out crunch, and that floaty that looks like Spyro? Oh my man! Hello Spyro! How you doing?
I'm out of here!
I'm fabulous. Okay. Now getting back into topic. Because of how Rude Awakening is laid out, in terms of being a starter course, the level design can be very open for some constant maneuvers like slide spinning, but it also doesn't shy away from allowing advanced techniques to be pulled off as well. One example being the end. Oh my god. Learning that you can ground slam at this spot to land the higher platform, it's so fucking cool. While all of this might sound like a cakewalk for being the first level and all, it's actually not. Firstly, some of the obstacles, like these rolling stones, can be tricky to dodge since they aren't always consistent. But with quick reactions, you can pass through them just fine.
Thank God.
But the second reason why it's difficult are the relic times. It's surprisingly tight to get the Purple Relic. Even Platinum can be tough as well. What's that? You're telling me there's a tradition for Crash Bandicoot games to have difficult relic times on their very first stage? Some of the minor nitpicks I have for Rude Awakening includes that long grind rail section, which is bad enough as it is, but it's made even worse that there isn't much going on with it at all. But I might give it some slack, because it is technically the first level in the game. Still doesn't make it any better though. Speaking of it being the first level, because of that reason, outside a few moments I mentioned, the level design can end up feeling a bit too basic and not overly crazy. But that shouldn't be too much of an issue, because Rude Awakening is a great learning stage to utilize Crash's advanced movement, while also having a pretty challenging Purple Relic to achieve as well. So it's a level that's easy to pick up, but difficult to master. This alone is what makes it better than Insanity Peak or other levels before it, and it has plenty of highlights for being a simple level. Although, this also means that the levels coming up will get even more crazier and exciting. Offbeat. Whew boy, this stage. Right off the bat, you could tell how beautiful and such an eye candy it is. Seriously, this has to be one of the most liveliest stages I've ever seen in this game. From the colorful theming of the Mardi Gras celebration in New Orleans, to the lambastic festivity of a carnival, flowing with confettis, fireworks, and so on. There's even a parade going on as well, with floats representing various characters like Eruptor from Skylanders, Purah from the Crash series, Fake Crash is here as well, and Spyro? Again? Oh my god! So glad you're here again! Where's Spyro? Oh my god! Your last release was really good, true. Where's Spyro? Hey, where are you going? What also complements the colorful visuals is the music, and oh my. While the level's aesthetics is not usually part of the equation when ranking time trials, Offbeat is a rare exception where the whole beauty of it really elevates the enjoyment of speedrunning through it in my opinion, which justifies its high ranking despite having a handful of issues which I'll get to later. But enough about the style, what about the substance? Well, don't worry about that, it has plenty of great moments as well, gameplay wise. For example, the beginning. You start the level by bouncing on these iron boxes, trying to find the most optimal way of climbing out of these dark alleyways. Following that are a row of enemies which, oddly enough, has a cycle which visibly corrects itself upon you being near them. It's really weird to witness, but I appreciate nonetheless. Okay. I also find the level's overall flow to be great. I swear, the way the level is structured was perfectly designed to navigate using your trusty triple spin. It never feels like you're either out of reach or too far ahead. In general, I find the gameplay moment to be outstanding. There are also moments where you use landing lolly, which is pretty alright. Nothing that really stands out, besides being able to shift out certain enemies and hazards. Emphasis on certain enemies. Anyways, while I might complain about there being grind rail sections, which are pretty long mind you, I'm actually okay with this one, mainly because it's toward the very end of the stage, so you'll rarely see it appear during your numerous attempts. But when you do get there, it could be a nice relief for trending to the level. It's especially rewarding when the goddamn music intensifies. Holy moly. While all of this sounds wonderful, unfortunately, it also has some legitimate issues that I would like to go over. Enough to where Offbeat can't go as high as many people would expect. So to go over the issues, first off, despite me praising on how the cycles were handled at the beginning, it doesn't mean that the rest of the level is like that. Most of the time, you'll get pretty terrible ones that screws you over. It could be some frustrating stuff. Speaking of frustrating, these goddamn ghosts, or at least as they're called, swing specters. Yeah, this was what I was alluding to a few minutes ago. And I'm telling you, they have to be some of the worst enemies in Crash 4. Right beside the Gas Moxie Scorchers and the Buzzsaw Ramblers. I pretty much hate how their attack patterns aren't telegraphic at all, and they take forever to start firing again, which leads to you getting hit by them when you least expect it. I always hesitate a lot when passing through them because they can be unpredictable as hell. Like fuck, dude. And then there are these man cannons. My god, they are such pace killers if I ever seen one. There are numerous of them, and often slow things down in an otherwise fast-paced level. Oh god, oh man! But they can sometimes be a nice mental break as well. So, I don't know. I still ate them. Yeesh. There's a lot to say about this level, but overall, Offbeat is still
fantastic.
It has beautiful aesthetics, catchy music, and fun level design, making it very exciting to speed through. But it's also unfortunate enough to have not so beautiful cycles, annoying enemies, and having these slow man cannons. But don't get me wrong, I love going to this stage if I ever have the chance to. But I feel that the flaws it has are significant enough that I cannot rank it any higher than this. Bears repeating. The title is right. It's bear repeating to say that, yes, getting 100% of this level sucks. The polar section can just end me for how finicky getting those crates are. Even with the hitbox being patched, I feel for those who endured on launch, you poor souls. But in any case, speedrunning to this level is actually amazing. And one of the reasons why is because of how challenging it is to slide spin to the stage. Trying to position yourself to these weights or the crumbling platforms is very tight, especially the weighted ones. On a good day, these platforms can be fun to navigate through, but on a bad day, these things can be a living nightmare, as standing on these platforms for too long can interrupt your movement and end up killing you if you aren't too careful. It ends up making these sections not mindless at all, which I can appreciate. But outside of those, navigating to the rest of the level is still great. I especially like towards the end, where you can do this high jump on the weighted platform to skip having to wait for those chunks to drop down. Which sadly reminds me that Kapunawa continues to be underutilized in this game, as in this level, she's only used for like one thing, which is superficial in my opinion. I know I said she'll get better in later entries, but trust me bro, she won't get better after this. But enough of that, we got the Polar section to talk about. Polar is essentially the vehicle section for the second half of the level, where you are constantly moving at a fixed speed, but you can press the boost button to go even faster. But unlike the jet board, you only gain a short burst of speed, so you need to strategize your boost timing and find the most optimal spots to use them, especially when you have to look out for TNTs, nitro boxes, trees, and rocks. So boosting at the wrong time can get you screwed by these things. Did I mention that you'll need to collect time boxes as well? So yeah, getting good at this section is key in getting good relic times, and I kinda appreciate the challenge it offers, even if the controls can be a bit slippery, but I pretty much have no issues with it. Also, in comparison with its timeline counterpart, building bridges, Bears Repeating has a much better Polar section, as it's more open and less awkward to navigate from these TNTs and nitro boxes. Sorry to bring you along building bridges, but back to the bin you go! So to conclude this segment, I find Bears Repeating to be a fantastic level, by having a great yet difficult level design that tests not only your slide spinning skills, but your driving skills as well. Driving skills? On Polar? Why the fuck did I say that? Nothing more to say, really. Stay Frosty. Man, Stay Frosty is so much fun, and one of my favorite things about it is the ice physics. Ice physics in video games tend to get a bad rep due to their slippery controls, making them not fun and very awkward to navigate. However, Crash Bandicoot seems to be one of the few franchises where the ice physics manage to be actually fun. Not only does your speed increases when you slide into them, but you can start doing these slides in any directions, allowing you to do complete 180 turns and be in full control while you're on ice. And man, this shit is so much fun. And it has been this way all the way back in Crash 2. Out here making ice physics fun since 1997. The tradition of fun ice physics is carried over in Crash 4, with the usual perk of being able to slide to gain some speed, of course. But unlike the previous games, you can actually combine it with your triple spin to gain even more speed. It could get pretty nuts. But thankfully, all of this is demonstrated fairly well in Stay Frosty, as it has plenty of icy surfaces to slide across. But putting all the ice physics aside, the level design as a whole is still spectacular. Some of the major highlight includes the beginning, which is actually pretty difficult. You'll need to be very meticulous and precise with your jumps, all the while maintaining your posture on ice so you cannot die from the frozen waters, the sharks, or those fishermen. It's hard, but it's not bullshit hard. Another highlight are the segments that utilizes Kapuna Wa, which are great. You're essentially slowing down time to navigate through these fallen ice or through the coursing river. It's even utilized during the only grind rail sequence in the level, where you'll need to time your slowdowns to pass through these crushers. In a way, it's rather unique, even if it's just a simple grind rail section. Pretty nice, I say. See? I told you Kapuna Wa would get better! Really? The only issue I have with Stay Frosty is the TNT that has 2 time boxes located after the beginning. While the ice physics can be cool, having to precisely break the time box without blowing yourself up while on ice can be annoying to deal with.
I'm free.
It leads to so many runs ending short because of this. But otherwise, this level is freaking wonderful. It has immensely fun level design, which is blessed for including ice physics, along with having some Kapuna Wa moments, which are handled nicely in my opinion. All around, a great level. Little complaints. Off balance. Thankfully, there's nothing off balance about this level at all, as it's pretty well-rounded in my opinion, and it has a couple things that I enjoy about it, such as how it looks. The way the level is designed makes it feel like I'm on a racetrack, from the wall paths looking like directional arrows to the shortcuts which only benefit for speedrunning only. All of this adds up to make Off Balance an enjoyable time trial level rather than a traditional platforming stage that you come to know of. And all of these speedrunning details leads me to my second point, which is that Off Balance has plenty of tricks that could be pulled off to shave off some extra time. Like the slide jump you can make here, or some of the wall running skips there, including the one which is very hard to do, but it is completely worth it. In one way or another, this stage has a lot of tricks up its sleeves, making it very fun to experiment and discover on your own. But wait! How can I forget Akano, the third greatest thing about this stage? He's out here bringing some of the greatest hits, which includes pulling off this triple Akano trick right into the open area, the long 2D section, and the one towards the end. Yeesh, look at him go! These Akano moments makes them all the more exciting, yet dangerous at the same time, because there are tons of bottomless pits to watch out for, so keep that in mind. But unfortunately, despite all this high-octane movement and fast-paced level design, it makes some of the slower moments really egregious and stick out like a sore thumb. The first example being this moving platform. And trust me on this, don't even try to catch up with it. You will always be missing that platform no matter what, unless you have insane luck. The second drawn out moment occurs with this auto-scroller section. And look, I get it. It's fun being on the platform, dodging obstacles with landing lolly, which, oh yeah, he exists, but it doesn't disguise the fact that you'll still be waiting around doing nothing. Something which can't be skipped entirely, unlike Jetboard Jetty. But outside of these slow moments, the level is still outstanding. It has fun level design that has a great sense of speed, while allowing for advanced techniques to shine, like performing some of the skips or using the triple econo trick. Whatever it may be, I enjoy what Off Balance has to offer when racing for the Purple Relic. So I might have to end this video a bit early, seeing that we'll be reaching to our top 10. An appropriate format for part 4, I must say. Again, I apologize for these inconsistent uploads, but I still hope you enjoyed this video and look forward for part 4, where I showcase the best of the best the game has to offer, in terms of Purple Relics of course.